This is me finding out that I'm pregnant with baby number 2. However, the saddest thing in the world happened. My external mic on my camera was unplugged and the audio from my actual camera was not picking anything up because it was not on the right setting. So unfortunately, one of the most important videos of my life does not have any audio, which makes me so extremely sad. But I'm gonna go ahead and share this video anyway and just try to explain everything that's going on right now. So basically, let's start from the beginning. It's December 18th. This is month 2 of us trying for baby number 2. And this was 5 days before I was supposed to start my period. So this was cycle day 25-ish. My cycles are about 30 days apart. And this was about day 12 or so post-ovulation. I took a test on day 9 post-ovulation and got a negative. So this was so that was on a Friday. This is on Monday that I'm taking the test. So just a few days ago, I had a very negative test with like nothing on it. So I was just really hoping and praying that this was it. The anticipation leading up to taking a pregnancy test is unmatched. There's nothing like it. So here we go. And it was the darkest line ever. I could not believe the line was this dark 5 days before my period. So I hadn't even been close to even missing my period yet. So this was like shocking, but like obviously we were trying, so like it's not shocking, but just that feeling is just so overwhelming and so exciting. I just could not believe how dark the line was. And I just had no line at all just 3 days ago. So that was just kind of crazy to me. And I could not get the camera to focus on the lines to show you how dark it was. It was not working. But you can kind of see it there, not really. But I was so excited to tell Sage. And this is what breaks my heart about the audio not working. We had the most, just these memories of telling her and just the little conversations that we had and her little voice and her reaction. Not having that just absolutely just breaks my heart. But at least I have a visual of it for us to look at later on in life. Sage is 2 going on 12, so I feel like there's so much that she just understands and she's so communicative, like very early on. So watching her process all of this is just so sweet and so tender. And then she immediately asked me if it was a boy or a girl, like right away. So she just, I don't know, her little brain just amazes me. But it was just so sweet and tender having this moment with my baby, telling her that she's going to be a big sister, and then just not knowing in this moment if it is a boy, if it's a girl, and just like who this second baby is going to be, and looking at my baby in my arms and just knowing I'm going to have another one of these just like is so precious and so overwhelming and just so much to even process. It's just wild, but now we have to figure out how we're going to tell Clark. However, I did call my friend first because we were planning our second babies at the same exact time. She found out she was pregnant the month before, and we started at the same exact time, and this is month 2 for me. So I had to call her and tell her that we were pregnant, and she was with me when I took the first test when I was 9 days post-ovulation, and it was negative. I took it at her house. So she knew I was like waiting and anticipating to take another test. So she's like, you have to tell me if you take another test. So I decided to include her in that. And then I had to go grab the big sister shirt from her because I didn't have anything. And I was like, this is the easiest way to tell Clark. I knew that I could not wait more than a couple hours to tell him, and he was at work obviously, but I am not the person that could wait till the next day and like have him come home and act like everything's fine and then try to come up with a plan for the next day. He had to know immediately. So I thought the shirt would be the best option to tell him. And then I texted him and told him I was having a really bad day and I needed him to come home for lunch, which he never can come home ever. It's like, that's a very rare thing. And for me to text him and tell him, hey, I'm struggling, like I need you to come home, I don't do that. So he was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm on the way, I'm coming right now. So I quickly put the shirt on her and just planned to place her down in front of the door. So when he walked in the door, he saw her first thing and hopefully noticed the shirt right away, because I didn't have any other plan. I was just gonna wait until he noticed what was on her shirt. Okay, easy. Here. We're gonna go be daddy. We're gonna go be daddy. Daddy's happy, honey. He's so happy, right? I lied to you. I'm having a good day. I'm like super pregnant. Tell daddy.
You're gonna be a big sister. You are. Oh. Oh my god.
What's in mommy's belly? What's in mommy's belly? A baby? Look. It's dark. I usually like looking for a faint line and I'm like, oh my god, I'm pregnant. Okay. Hi. So it has been 3 days since finding out that I'm pregnant, and as you can tell, the video got messed up because of the audio. So if you were following along with Vlogmas, this is all gonna make sense and you're gonna connect the dots and be like, oh my gosh, because I'm in the middle of filming Vlogmas right now, so this will be obviously put out way later, but my camera, like the mic on top of my camera, was unplugged like ever so slightly. So about 9 days of vlog footage completely had no audio at all. And I expressed how that was like so annoying and whatever, because you know, you put a lot of effort into it and it's just annoying. Hold on, plane. But the real reason why I was so upset is because I filmed the video of me finding out that I'm pregnant in the middle of Vlogmas when that happened. So I had no audio. Like that's the one video that is just like precious to me and just means a lot to me. So for my audio to be out, like I'm gonna like cry, because the moments with Sage and like what she was saying was just so sweet, and I don't have the audio to it and it's really upsetting. So sorry that the video wasn't the most ideal thing because you can't hear anything, but it is what it is. We move on. And same thing with the video of Clark finding out. There was no audio on that either. However, I did have my phone running at the same exact time, so I'm going to try to pull the audio from my phone to the video on the camera so I can post that and you guys can actually hear what's going on. So I filmed an entire like 10 minutes of me talking after I found out and everything about my symptoms and how I was feeling, and just absorbing it all and just talking about it and sharing with you guys, and that doesn't have audio either. So I'm just gonna sit down and kind of do that now. I don't really remember what I was saying, but I'll talk about how I'm feeling right now and just try to recap as best as I can. It was like 4 days, it was like 3 days ago, so whatever. But it just kind of takes away because it wasn't because this is days later. I've had time to process, and I was expressing how I felt like when I was, first processing it. So I'm just like upset about it, but I need to move on. So we started trying last month, 2 months ago, whatever that math is. For the first month that we tried, I ended up starting my period, and I was really upset, and I was like trying not to get in my head, like, is something wrong with me? Like, I've heard stories of the second baby is harder to get pregnant and just all these things, and I really had to try to focus on not stressing about that, not letting fear creep in, and just like praying and knowing and just leaning into positivity and prayer and just faith that everything is going to work out exactly the way it's supposed to, and the next baby is going to come into our lives exactly when it's supposed to. And then the second month comes, and I was like, I'm going to use the ovulation strips, because I thought that I knew when I was ovulating. You really can tell the most based off of cervical fluid, and you can always do your temperature and stuff. I didn't do that because apps are not going to be as accurate as, figuring it out your own body, you know what I mean? So I thought that I like knew my cervical fluid. I thought I knew when my peak day was, and then I thought I knew when ovulation day was, and all of that, and I didn't get pregnant. So I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that I got it all down to a science, so why didn't I get pregnant? So that's the area where I was getting kind of like, is something wrong with me? Cut to this past time, use the ovulation strips. That was really eye-opening and helped me just understand when I actually ovulated, because it shows on the strip. There were 3 days that looked exactly the same, and you only ovulate 1 day, but it picked it up on the 3 days. So I know it's somewhere within those 3 days that we conceived. So if you're trying or just want to be more clear, I would say the ovulation strips were really, really helpful. It made things more clear without like obsessing and not really knowing. So anyway, I was really glad that we used those because it worked. Okay, as far as I'm feeling, so I have a cold, and when I first got this cold, my first thought was, oh my gosh, maybe I'm pregnant, because your immune system like goes down when you get pregnant. And I kind of thought, I had that thought, and that's exactly what's happening. I'm just so grateful that we were able to get pregnant so quickly, because you just literally never know, and I don't want to like go down into a deep dive of that. So I took the test on cycle day 25. It was on a Monday, and I wasn't going to start my period until that Friday, and mine are irregular, so it's not exactly the same every single month. So my cycle can last anywhere from, sometimes it's 28 days, but that's very rare. Usually it's between like 30 and 32 days. So cycle day 30 would have been on Friday. So the day I tested was cycle day 25. So I was like, it's not going to show that I'm pregnant yet. Like, there's no way. I'm like, it's way too soon. Like, I need to wait until closer, or I need to wait until I actually miss a period before I even take the test, because the month before I was taking so many tests because I was just like, I have to know. And it was just nothing, absolutely nothing. So this month I'm like, I'm not doing that to myself. Like, I'm absolutely not doing it to myself. And then I was at my friend's house the Friday before. That would have been an entire week before I was supposed to start my period. And my friend was like, just take a test with me. Like, just take one. And I'm like, okay, but like, just like, if it doesn't show up, it doesn't mean that you're not pregnant. It just means that you're not past your ovulation date enough for it to show up. And I'm like, okay. So I took it, and there was nothing. Like, we couldn't even find a faint line. It was nothing. And I'm like, okay, I'm not taking one until I've missed a period, because I just like can't do that to myself, knowing that Christmas is coming too. So I'm like, how am I going to test when people are in town for Christmas? And like, how is that all going to work? But it just worked out so perfectly, because I tested on Monday, because my friend texted me and was like, have you taken a test again? I'm like, no, I'm not taking one. And she's like, you are like 12 days past ovulation date. Like, it would show up by now. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're probably right. Like, maybe I should just take it, and then just like, I'll know if it's yes or no. That was me taking the test quickly, and that line was there. With Sage, I took the test on cycle day, what was it? 30 or 31? So I would have started my period like at any point, and it was a very faint line. And this time I was 5 days before, and it was like hardcore, like there's a second line. So I don't know what that means. And then when I was pregnant with Sage, I felt period like cramping coming on. So I was like, oh, I'm going to start my period for sure. Like, I'm not pregnant. And then I was. And then this time I wasn't feeling anything. And then last month, a week before I started my period, I had some cramping, and I don't have a lot of cramps really anymore, just with my lifestyle change, just like having a healthier lifestyle. And then after having a baby, I just don't have cramps like I used to. That I used to have them so bad. But last month I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like pretty intense cramps right now. And I'm like, I know I'm going to start my period. And then I did. So the fact that I didn't feel anything this month kind of made me feel encouraged that I was pregnant, and I was, so it worked out. Sorry, I'm so nasally. It's so annoying. And of course right now I'm just really trying to focus on being positive because I'm still so early. I'm not even 5 weeks yet. And I just want to make sure everything's okay. And we are telling people earlier because in my mind, I'm like, whoever I tell early, like, I don't want to speak that anything is going to happen, but those are the people that would be supportive and that would know that anyway. So we're just deciding to tell just immediate family and a couple of our friends who know that we've been on this journey of trying to have a second baby because they're in the same season of life. Of course, I'm going to wait quite some time before I tell like everyone else, but of course those natural fears just come in because I've experienced loss before and I just am really trying to not stress about it. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then moving forward, I am going to do the weekly pregnancy updates, just like I did with Sage. This is where many of you found my channel and you've stuck along and watched since then. So thank you. And I'm just so excited to have you along with me in the journey of having my second baby. Oh my gosh, it makes me want to cry. I'm just so beyond excited. I'm so curious of how this pregnancy is going to be compared to Sage. Like, is it a boy? Is it a girl? Like, who is this new little baby? I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so wild. I already know some things that I want to do differently this pregnancy, and we'll talk all about that. Oh, if I could just stop crying. But thank you guys for watching this video. I'm so sorry that the audio is not in the first part of the video. That like stinks so bad and I'm sorry, but thank you for being here. Make sure that you subscribe so you can follow along our journey, and I'll see you in the next video.